Happy New Year, everybody. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to get out on this machine. If you want to find out what's in store for 2022 for Wheelie Good TV, hop on the back, we'll go for a spin. It's the 1st of January 2022. Happy New Year's Day, folks. I can't believe I'm out on two wheels again. Well, actually I can, because even though it's a pretty grey day here in Ireland, to be honest, it didn't really matter what the weather was going to do today. I was going out on a motorbike, and that was that. I haven't ridden a bike in over 2 weeks, which is an awful long time for me. As you can see, well, I hope you can see, I've got the bike in commute mode because it actually hasn't stopped raining for 2 weeks here as well. So there's a lot of puddles, a lot of slippy corners as well here, and I know this particular stretch of road, there's a lot of twisties. In fact, it's one of my favourite stretches of road. If you've been a subscriber for a while to this channel, I'm sure you recognise it by now. I love this stretch of road in the summer. Well, love it any time. Anyway, for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. And one thing the longer members of the channel might notice is that the thumbnail on this video is the first thing I've changed, because that's going to be the new thumbnail style for the rest of my videos going forward. It's the flash of green down the left hand side. Obviously my logo is still at the top within that flash of green, which is the motorbike doing a wheelie inside a television set for Wheelie Good TV. But the flash of green is a nod to this beautiful country I live in and have lived in for the last 20 years. I know a lot of you think I'm Irish, but I'm not. I've just inherited the lilt. I'm actually a Geordie, for those of you who are still confused by my accent. But very much in love with this country and the people who are in this country, of course. And I can't wait to go off on little adventures and tours around this country, which is something I've really been meaning to do for the last year, but because of lockdowns, and then I had a huge amount of work came in last year, which I had to go off and do. That was over in England, but because I hadn't worked the previous year, you know, beggars can't be choosers and all that crack. So anyway, what's the other thing I wanted to add? Oh yes, I'll get this out of the way first of all. For those of you, again, who don't know what I do professionally, I'm a television cameraman, which is why I'm always in search of the Holy Grail. That is the ultimate vlogging setup on board a motorbike in terms of camera and sound. Now, I'm a little bit too anorakish about this at times, so forgive me. But as you can, well, maybe you don't know, folks, but I'm shooting this video back with the GoPro 10, something that I think I've repeatedly said I'd never do again. But anyway, I'm here shooting this with the GoPro 10 because they released just before Christmas the software to make the max lens mod work, and indeed that's the lens I have on here. And on this bike, and indeed any sports bike really, if you're vlogging with that traditional setup and the camera on your chin, you sort of need the max lens mod. Otherwise you'd just be seeing the road in front of you and not even a hint of the windscreen, let alone the dashboard. And I personally like to give the viewer that feeling as if they're riding a bike, or at least on board the bike anyway. So what's the other thing I wanted to tell you about? Oh yeah, I'll probably issue an apology at this stage. One of the crazy things which happened, which made me sort of reconsider using a GoPro again, is that when I was using the Insta360 One X2 rather, as much as I love what that camera can do as effects shots, I tried it out at some stage last autumn, I think it was, as my main camera, and all I had was the radio mic in the helmet transmitting the sound to the One X2, which was down here basically on a handlebar mount. So I was able to choose the shot of me then looking forward as well from the same shot. If you know how one of those works, they are pretty incredible. However, I got very frustrated with that because it kept crashing out of record. Lo and behold, after many emails to tech support and joining many forums, nobody could really give me the answer why. But it turns out, and again this is what I mean about being a bit too anorakish when it comes to cameras, but I had to get to the bottom of it, because I tried about 20 different micro SD cards within the camera, as I've done within the GoPro, but I'll come back to the GoPro in a second. But with the Insta360 One X2, I'd done a software update, and it restored everything to default within the camera after the update, including voice recognition. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to vlog with an Insta360 camera when you've got the mic input on the side and you're feeding whatever you're saying into the side of the camera. Well, obviously, with voice recognition on, it works very well. So whatever I was saying inside the helmet, it was crashing out a record whenever I was triggering it by saying, obviously, the word stop, or however you stop it recording. So whatever it was saying, it was crashing out a record, which explains everything, because sometimes it would only record for 2 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, whatever. It was driving me insane. So I just switched off the voice recognition button within the camera, and guess what? Yes, it works a treat. So again, if you're new to the channel, actually all for the long-term subscribers as well, stay tuned, because what I do have coming, and I don't mind revealing this at this stage, is a Honda CRF Rally. No, it's not the Rally, it's the 300L. It's the CRF 300L I've got coming. It's Itchy Boots who rides the Rally one. She's off to Alaska on hers. However, I've been on a waiting list for a 300L for 4 months. I'm repeatedly told it's arriving imminently. It never does arrive, so if and when it does arrive, hopefully soon, that's going to be a new offshoot of this channel. I'm going to learn to ride off-road, as is my 19-year-old son. He's actually going to learn to ride that as his first motorbike. So we're going to take that on as a father and son project, but it's my weakest form of riding off-road. Indeed, those of you who saw my disastrous attempt at riding my GS off-road last year, the video is still there somewhere. It's embarrassing, and it's been bugging me ever since. Now, I'm not going to blame my tools, okay, but the GS maybe wasn't the right bike to off-road for the first time. I certainly didn't have any experience with that type of riding. I had my road tyres on it. It's a bloody heavy bike at the best of times, let alone on a sloppy, mud, wet track. I just thought, you know, I could take anything on at this stage, especially on that bike, because it really is confidence aspiring, shall we say. But anyway, didn't end well. Mind you, saying that, it could have been a lot worse. I was fine, and the bike just had a minor scrape on it. So that's why I'm on the waiting list for a CRF 300L, because I have to get to the bottom of that. What was the other thing? Oh yes, just before I go off on a tangent, back to the GoPro camera, this 10, because it's had the max lens mod, software updated, which basically you can use your max lens from the GoPro 9 on this 10 now, because they released that software before Christmas. I'm also hoping that within that software update there's some sort of fix to the freezing and the crashing that these 10s are constantly doing, and that's not just me, and it's nothing to do with voice recognition in this camera. It's just shit firmware. Not quite as shit, however, as GoPro's after-sales service, or what do they call it? The GoPro hasn't even crashed out a record yet. Wouldn't it be wonderful if I got home and there was actually sound on this as well, which was another problem happening all the time on the 10. So this is its first outing with the new software, and like I say, so far so good. So wouldn't it be great if I got home to edit this video? Actually, on that note, I don't know what time it is now. I think that clock's wrong on the bike. I've had the battery disconnected, so I'm gonna get home as soon as I can to try and get this video out as my first video of 2022. I'd love to get that up this afternoon on the Wheelie Good YouTube channel, and if you found it and you were obviously watching it, then it's worked. Okay, next thing I want to move on to. A couple of things planned for this year. I'll tell you my first thing I have planned. That's a trip around the Northern Irish Coastal Causeway route. I've never done it. I know loads of people have done it, but I've put a bit of a twist on it. I have the route planned. I have the whole thing planned, actually. I've unearthed some incredible stories all the way around the route. So if you're only a visitor to this channel, please subscribe, because little trips like this really are incredible. Some of the stories that I found, I just can't wait to bring them to you. I'm not going to reveal anything yet, The other thing is, for those of you who've been watching the sculptures programs that I've been making, there's another few in the pipeline, and indeed there's a couple of them already in production, just waiting to be edited, so they'll be coming to you very, very soon. I'm fascinated by that series. Basically, for those of you who don't know, I haven't watched it, I've always been fascinated by the motorway sculptures we have here in Ireland. And it was only when I found out a story behind one of them, I thought, my God, that's just spiked my curiosity beyond belief. So I started finding out stories about some more of them, and then it turns out literally every sculpture in Ireland has a story behind it. And these are the sculptures which sit on the embankments of motorways. They're the ones I'm talking about, not necessarily the ones in city centres or anything like it. It's the ones you drive past or ride past every day, and people just know nothing about them. Well, I aim to uncover an awful lot more about these sculptures, and indeed that little strand is going from strength to strength, and in fact, don't mind telling you, there's been some broadcast interest about that. So stay tuned, watch this space, and we'll see what happens with that little offshoot. Okay, where are we going next? Oh yeah, can I talk about this bike for a second, folks, if you don't mind? This is one of those bikes. I don't know if any of you out there are lucky enough to own one. It's still, without doubt, my favourite bike. I love this bike. I wouldn't say it's an all-round bike. The GS for me is the best all-round bike ever. But in terms of making me feel as happy when I'm not riding it as I am when I am riding it, a bit like my wife, that, isn't it? Whoa! Sorry about that. She would probably be happy though if she heard me say that, because there is a compliment in there somewhere. But you know what I mean. It's one of those rare motorbikes which I could just stare at, a bit like the Royal Enfield as well, actually, the Continental GT. In fact, if you saw one of my recent videos, which was the motorcycle live show over in Birmingham just before Christmas, beginning of December I think it was, I came away from that somewhat underwhelmed, and it was because there was no other bike there which makes me feel certainly the way this one does. I'm in love with this bike, and even though I've only been on it for half an hour today so far, I just realised why I'm in love with it. I love everything about this bike. I'm one of the lucky ones, of course, as you know, the pre-production models, and in fact the early release of this model last year, they had a lot of problems. In fact, a friend of mine had his recalled, and I know there's a lot of you out there who've contacted me asking what problems I had with this one. Well, touch wood, touch on my helmet there. No problems. I just love everything about it. Actually, on that note, can I just do a quick shout out to a few people as well before we go any further? There's a chap out there who was actually my very first subscriber. The YouTube channel has been going for a year and a half, and after my kids and my wife subscribed to me when I set up the channel, my very first official subscriber was a chap called Trevor Harrington. And I've become to know, I've come to know Trevor through the channel, and I can't wait to meet him. I still haven't met him in person, obviously because of lockdown, and well, he lives over in the UK, I live in Ireland, and but I can't wait to meet him because I know he watches every single video I put out, and inevitably he always comments as well, which is really nice. And Trev, thanks for your support, mate. I really can't wait to meet you. I feel as though we're friends already, I really do, and hopefully this year we'll get to share a cup of tea, or even better, a pint of Guinness together. The other chap I want to mention is another subscriber who contacted me last summer, a guy from Cork who indeed is a fellow RS660 owner, and his name is John O'Connell. He contacted me and said, I've this great idea, Dave. He said, should we book a track day together? I know we've never met each other, but we have the same bike. We bought them from the same shop. Are you up for it? So we did do the track day, and indeed, folks, if you haven't seen it, go and check out the video within my channel. It's there somewhere. But we had a fantastic day, and again, he's one of those guys, after meeting him that day, and we're in constant contact since then, but he's one of those guys that I feel as though I should have met years ago. It's almost like, why didn't I meet him years ago? We've so much in common, we're completely on the same wavelength, we get on terrible well, and I'm looking forward to more outings with you, John. I really am, and I hope you had a good Christmas, mate. The other chap I want to mention, and if you're a YouTuber and you watch motorbike reviews, then you'll definitely know this guy, because without him my channel's success wouldn't be quite as large as it is. That is Andy, aka the Missenden Flyer. He contacted me early on, once I launched my channel, asking me about different camera angles and, you know, why was the production quality of my channel up there, certainly for a new YouTuber or a new vlogger. Anyway, we sort of hit it off, and I explained I was a cameraman for a living and everything, but since then we've become friends, and I was working, in fact, not far away from where he lives last year, and so I rang him and I said, Andy, I'm working literally 10 minutes from where you are. I said, I'll pop in, will I? Yeah, he's definitely so. I went round to his house and blah blah blah. It sounded a bit like a stalker. It wasn't that at all. I didn't call him blind or anything like that. But anyway, he answered his front door and he said, Dave! I said, no. I said, that's all wrong. I said, shut the door again, then open it and say, hi kids, it's the Missenden Flyer. And he did. Oh my god, I wet myself. It was just brilliant. It was one of those pinch me moments, because I'd been watching him for years, you know. So it was absolutely, it was my personal greeting from the Missenden Flyer. It was brilliant. Anyway, we had a great afternoon. He very kindly cooked me a barbecue. Anyway, to cut to the chase, I want to thank him for the shout-outs he's given me last year, and you know, I know many of you are watching my channel as a direct result of that, because without those shout-outs, I think he brought me about 1,500 subscribers to this channel throughout the few shout-outs he gave me, which is just phenomenal for a small channel of this size. So I'm eternally grateful for that, Andy. And of course, there's, well, I know I'm in constant contact. There's too many people to mention at this stage, but one other, well, two other guys I'd love to meet. Richie Vida, I'm sure you all watch his channel. He's another big motor vlogger. And again, Richie and I have been conversing on WhatsApp and emails and through each other's channels and everything. And we both agree that we feel as though we've known each other for ages. So there is possibly something afoot to meet up with Richie in the near future, as there is. And if you didn't see this over Christmas, folks, because this really was Christmas viewing, if you didn't see the podcast with Bruce, Teapot One, actually his podcast channel is called Brew Time. It's an offshoot of his Teapot One YouTube channel. What a fantastic guy he is, and we had a brilliant chat. Now his podcasts are all a few hours long, and mine indeed was no less. In fact, I think he said at one stage, you know, he's got to rein me in, because otherwise it would be a 9-hour podcast. For those of you who know me, well, actually many people here in Ireland say I didn't just kiss the Blarney Stone, I swallowed it. So but we had mighty crack. So if you haven't seen it, head over to Bruce's channel, Brew Time, and give it a watch. There was a lot of laughs in it. And again, you know, all of this support from, you know, YouTubers who are at the top of the game is one thing. You know, I find that so refreshing, because in my professional life, people have become, because of budgets getting tighter and equipment getting cheaper, you know, the whole changing face of the whole face of the industry is changing, I suppose. That's what I'm trying to say. And for the last few years, people have just got a little bit more protective about what they do and about their brand and all of that sort of crap, and, you know, tend not to reach out and help others as much. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. And one thing I just love about this whole motovlogging YouTube scene is that, you know, even the guys, like I've mentioned there, at the top of that game, for them to encourage the likes of myself who are only new at it, you know, it just, honest to God, it's just lovely. That's pretty much the correct word, actually. The only word that I can find to describe it. It's well, refreshing as well. It's just brilliant. Thanks to all those guys, and of course the most important people is all of you for watching. And like Trev Harrington there, who's the first subscriber, even though you might not have subscribed, please consider doing so. I have some great things about to happen this year. I appreciate the support and the feedback, and I'm always one for constructive feedback as well. Don't feel as though you only have to comment if you've got something good to say. I'm here, you know, I'm not necessarily providing a service, but I want to keep you entertained, and if I can keep you entertained better, then let me know. Let me know places you want me to go and visit. Let me know things you might want me to change about my trips out. And the last big surprise, well, it's not a surprise because I revealed this in the podcast I did with Bruce on his Brew Time episode, is that I'm planning actually somewhat of a mammoth trip this year. However, I was then gazumped a little bit because Bruce told me he was going to do the same trip with lamb chops. So I revealed that I was going off to get a takeaway pizza. And I revealed that I'm riding to Naples to do that. and Bruce, quite... I was expecting a bigger reaction from Bruce. He said, when are you doing that? And I said, hopefully around Easter time. He said, all right, because me and lamb chops are going to do the same. So I was like, oh God. I said, I won't bother. No, he said, you do it, you go ahead. So I to be honest, I'm telling you now, folks, that just in case you did see it in the podcast, that is part of the plan. I'm taking in 10 countries over 20 days. I have everything done, mapped out, and the route planned. Just doing a few final things to it. Actually, one of the things I'm looking to do is to hopefully get sponsorship in terms of a bike to do it on. If I don't get that, I'll be doing it on my GS. But I'm doing it by myself as well. And well, let's just wait and see what happens with that, because actually over the Christmas time I took in rather a large booking for work from March onwards, so I don't know actually if that trip will happen this year, but stay tuned. What's the last thing I'd love to say before I sign off here? Oh yes, even though I'm putting this out on New Year's Day, my videos will come back or resume normal service from next Thursday, and I shall aim to drop one video a week every Thursday morning at 7 in the morning. That's been my slot for a couple of months before Christmas, so I'll try and get back to that routine. So unfortunately I can only do one video a week, and even then I struggle with time. Dad of 4 and pretty much on the road full time with work, and but I'll keep you posted. Join the Instagram as well at Wheelie Good TV, and of course once again, great to have you along. I hope you enjoyed that little update. The rain is now starting to come in, so probably just as well that I sign off for the first time in 2022. Thanks again, folks. I'm Dave Perry, Wheelie Good TV, over and out.